Mindset Podcast. We're your guide as you make your way through life, getting better 1% every day. We believe that life is lived and true victory won through adversity. Nothing easy is ever worth it. We believe in the warrior ethos and support those that choose to walk that path.
Dr. P.
Morning, sir.
What's happening?
Wish I knew.
You just have a list of these things in a book. So I kind of feel like you do. Well, welcome to the show. I've had you on another show, but I wanted to get you on this one. Some more relevant topics to our audience of people trying to figure shit out. And you got it all figured out.
Oh, yeah. Just, everything I say is golden.
Yes, it is to me. Well, for those who don't know Dr. Scott Padgett, in a previous life, not so long ago, I used to produce conferences, and this man did all of the music, most of them. For a couple years stretch, you did everything.
Up and down the East Coast.
Yeah, it was fun. And I'll tell you, I'll never forget being introduced to you. The ladies of Flock and Rally, we had hired a company to help me kind of take them to the next level. Because, there's only so much that this brain can do. It's a pretty low bar, but they helped. And one of the things they said was, you have to go and talk to Dr. P. I said, cool. And emailed or texted, and then you showed up, and I said, what in the hell? What in the hell are we doing?
It's unhoused, man.
Yeah. But you know what? I just trusted them, and I trusted you, and it was awesome. It was legendary.
We had a big time.
Yeah, it's fun. But that's not why you're here. I wanted to get you on the show. We had briefly chatted before about lots of things. And I'll link that other show up because there's some good conversation in there too. But I wanted to get you on this one because you brought up the 12 steps.
Mm-hmm.
And how a lot of it is related to a lot of the other things we talk about, and some things you've gone through your life. So let's start there. Let's start. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. What about it? I mean, how did you get to the 12 steps? Like, why is that even a thing for you?
Because I was powerless over drugs and alcohol.
Damn.
And for some reason, I didn't remember anybody ever giving me any coping skills growing up. From my youngest age. It was like, be a man.
Yeah.
Get through this. You're a good, strong hillbilly from Western North Carolina. Your willpower will get you through anything.
Right.
Just man up. And, wasn't a whole lot in there about getting a mortgage or anything else that I was going to face in life. So early on, I had all these voices in my head about being lesser than and, conditional love at home from your parents. And so this thing in that rubbery brain of a young child, I figured out that, in order for you to love me and take care of me, I was going to have to do exactly what you wanted me to do and be whoever you wanted me to be. And that kind of stuck with me. And then when I got old enough to start drinking, those voices went away. And
wow,
that was the coping skill that I had for a lot of years. Was anytime there was a problem, I just, drink or use or whatever you had handy. And as long as you made good grades, my folks didn't give a toot about whatever else was going on because, doesn't seem to be affecting him.
Well, yeah.
And so
kind of makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
yeah.
I went with the same thing with my first kid too. And so,
well, we learn by experiencing, we learn by watching.
Exactly. We don't come with instruction books.
No.
And, so I went through a whole lot of business and a whole lot of, life, just using those same old coping mechanisms that I had. And, finally one day it quits working. You know, we say that the cucumber turns into a pickle, and you can't go back again. I mean, it's, you know,
yeah, that's right. It's very hard to turn.
People hear this and they think, you know, it's a disease. Well, you know, if you pour an organic solvent into your bloodstream every day or regularly for over a span of time, it's going to affect your brain.
Right.
And it affects your reward center. And, you know, one thing I will say is I'm not smarter than anybody else, but I have been exposed to a whole lot of material on this that most people haven't been, because I think anybody with any kind of disease or condition is going to research it some. And once you do that over a span of years, it changes the biochemistry in your brain. It just makes sense, you know, because if I pour ethyl alcohol onto a pair of rubber sneakers, it melts it. And so there's probably, or they put it in gasoline, you know, 10% ethanol. And so it did something. And then after a while, it got to where it didn't work anymore. There wasn't that same feeling that you had when you were first starting to use it. It's like I always say, anybody over 40 that uses the word party as a verb is probably an alcoholic. And so, I didn't have those coping mechanisms that I had for all those years. They're not there anymore, and I needed, and I couldn't do anything about it. And so I got forced into treatment. I didn't want to go, and I got forced into AA, which was the one that the court sent me to. It could have been any other A, and you know, they said you got to do this, 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 and this to stay out of jail. And I didn't want to go to big boy jail.
Right.
And so I started going and met another guy there who was in the medical field, and he turned out to be sicker than I was. And he had been straight and sober for a while, and we got to be pals. And, you know, like I said to him, the first time, he said, well, how are you spiritually? And I said, well, I think I'm an agnostic. I'm too big a pussy to be an atheist. And he said, how's that working out for you? Here you are on the brink of prison.
Yeah.
And you can't quit drinking and you can't quit using. So how's that working out? And that was like one of those duh moments, you know, that I'd never had in life before. And so they presented me with suggestions, and that was another thing about it, that, you know, nothing was told that I had to do it this way.
Right.
And so it turned into, you know, over a span of years, because it took a whole lot of years to get this screwed up. So it's going to take a little bit of time to get unscrewed.
Right.
Let alone realize that I'm not going to stay unscrewed unless I keep doing the things that are suggested to me. And so that's how I fell into the 12 steps.
So, yeah. So it's a continual process.
Yep.
This is not something you just do once.
No, well, you know, when I first started in recovery, I just wanted the pain to go away.
Right.
I didn't put any condition on it at all.
Right.
It was just, somebody please get these people off my ass and make this awful psychic pain that I'm in go away. And I could go and talk to these people. And I mean, there's 400 meetings of some kind of recovery in the Midlands every day.
Really?
And so, you know, it was someplace that I could go and at least hide for an hour at a time. And if I was lucky, maybe even pick up something here or there. But yeah, for a long time, it was just, please, just, you know, 4 walls to keep the world at bay for a long time.
Right. So at what point did you realize that it's not? Because I mean, we'll get into each of the steps, because I would really like to do that and go through each one of them. But I always thought it was just like I started at 1 and I worked at 12, and then
yep,
I'm good.
And Daddy buys me a new car.
Well, that'd be nice.
Yeah. Well, my poor old dad. After I'd been sober for a year, he bought me a turd brown Bravada because I was cured. And so it was like, and I was like, well, I wish it worked that way, but I'll sure take the car.
I'll take the car.
Yeah.
Well, how old were you?
47.
47.
Yeah. and had a good 31-year run. I mean, it was fun for a long time.
Yeah.
I was just saying the other day that there were a lot of years there where it was a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
I mean, alcohol wasn't the problem, it was the solution.
Right.
And it stayed that way for a long time. And then drugs too.
Mm-hmm.
And, especially when we came up, like we had talked about before,
Mm-hmm.
when they were having, Bonnie Raitt was having a national organization for the reform of cocaine laws at concerts in LA. I mean, nobody knew.
Yeah.
And so we just kept on going.
Right.
And after a while, you start seeing folks your age start kind of falling by the wayside. And it's like, oh, what's up with that? Because everybody that I hung out with was basically using the way I was, because all those guys who had gotten married and were raising kids and going to church were all just a bunch of pussies who couldn't take it. That's how we look at them. They're just suckers.
Gotcha.
Who bought into it, because you're going to rationalize your way of going about things somehow to yourself. And the thought of being a better person never even entered into it.
Right.
So why should I be a better person? It's you people with the problem.
So is that part of it?
Yeah.
Just
acceptance.
Accepting that it's you?
Yeah, accepting that it's you. There's one of these old, and by the way, I'm not here on any kind of AA auspices or NA auspices or anything like that. It's just, we're talking about what the organizations present as the 12 steps and what they did for me. And I mean, one of the things that I kept hearing over and over, and I still hear to this day, was when I'm disturbed or something wrong. When I'm disturbed at something you're doing, is something wrong with me. See, I never looked at anger and resentment as being a choice.
Okay.
It was like, it dawned on me one day that I didn't have to be angry. I just thought anger was the fifth primary emotion.
Right. Yeah.
And, it's like, well, you choose to be angry. I'm like, no, you're full of shit. What do you mean choose to be angry? You pissed me off.
Right.
And then.
Right. You don't have to react to it.
No, it is the damnedest thing. I mean, it's one of those tools that once you get do you ever get the hang of it?
No,
but you recognize it.
Yes.
And I mean, everybody still gets pissed off. Of
course. You wouldn't be a human being if you didn't get mad at things. I mean, that's your God-given right to get mad.
Right. And so it's just recognizing it for what it is, which is basically, I'm using up a whole lot of stress chemicals that are probably taking time off the end of my life, and what good's it doing me?
Right.
If you look at it from a medical reason. And so, it's the acceptance of life on life's terms. People get pissed because there's a whole lot of bumper stickers in the program. And the reason there's a whole lot of bumper stickers is because we don't have the capacity to think very much when we first come in.
Right. Yeah. You've got a lot of work to do I imagine when you first come in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't program the red lights just to stop you at every one of them.
and road rage is still the primary thing that you'll hear about every day from people, is like, what you did to me.
Yes. It's a great example, though, I think, of not accepting and not dealing with your own, that you're the origin of most of the problems.
Yep. And the whole thing with anger and resentment, 99% of it comes from some kind, at least for me, comes from some kind of self-centered fear I've got that, somehow this situation, I'm not going to get what I want or what I need or what I deserve. I was watching the Clint Eastwood movie, The Unforgiven, the other night, and Gene Hackman said, deserve's got nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, there you go.
Yes. That's a great movie.
It really is.
Yeah. That one, I imagine, as far as this stuff's concerned, that one probably speaks to you a little bit. I mean, it does me from that perspective.
Yeah.
I think that's the whole point of the movie.
Yeah.
Because they talk about alcohol abuse a lot and how he
goes back to it
to be able to do his business. Yeah.
Yeah. You always wish there'd be a prequel to it where the
I want to see all the hell races.
Yeah, I want to see what he did to get to where he was killing women and children. You know, he's bragging
Holy
about
crap.
that stuff.
I know, pretty rough. Well, okay, so let's get into these.
Okay.
So you so I didn't know that. It sounds like you were forced into it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, I imagine most people are pushed into this.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's on top of their game when they go in. I mean,
you're not going to be like, I think I need to do this.
They seem like really good people.
Something bad has to happen.
Yeah, and so, and that's what's so strange about it, and what people on the outside, that still get angry about is after all these years, if you go to a treatment center, you can pay your $30,000. And
you go right back to
it. You just pay your $30,000, and when you leave, when your insurance runs out, they hand you an AA big book and say,
"Now go to work.
Now go to a meeting." And it's like, well, thank you for the $30,000 big book.
What the hell did I do?
And that's still the best. There's other ways to get sober. I understand. It's just the way I got sober, but still, being around a lot of treatment centers in the last 23 years and seeing how the stuff works, it's still. There's not a pill out there that'll do it. It's just, to me, it's just switching addictions. And, if there was, I'd sure be the first one in line. But the thing about it is there a pill out there that's going to make me realize that I'm the problem? That, acceptance is the key. That when I'm disturbed, is something wrong with me. I mean, those are the kind of lessons that I don't think I'm going to get from any kind of quick cure. No, like I keep saying over and over, it took a long time to get this fucked up. It's
right. Well, I mean, the steps are free.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I tell people, fitness is free.
Right.
You go walk and not eat everything. I mean, but it's not that simple.
No, and you're the one that's got to decide. I mean, nobody's going to, it's a program for those who want it, not for those who need it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I always use Don Draper as my example. If you're doing what Don Draper used to do on Mad Men, if you're putting a line on the bottle every day and saying, I'm not going past that line, or if you're switching your different kinds of alcohol to try and drink, or you're limiting yourself to 2 beers, but you're buying 2 40s. If you're trying to control your drinking and you can't control your drinking, you might have a problem. And I'm not saying you're an alcoholic. Yeah. I'm just saying you might have a problem. You could do like me, the way I did that. I just switched addictions. I'd quit drinking and go to some other drug and let my liver quit pulsating. And I could do that for years at a time as long as I had a supply.
Right.
And then I'd always end up back at alcohol because of availability.
Right.
If I'd been an anesthesiologist, I'd be dead just because that's the kind of crap that's available.
Right.
And so, the first step being I'm powerless over alcohol. I'm powerless over gambling. I'm powerless over porn. I mean, I'm powerless over anything that's harmful to me and my family and harmful to my way of my professional life, all that kind of stuff. But you're the one that's got to decide it, unless you're like me and you break enough laws to where somebody says, you're going to have to give this a shot.
Well, that one. I haven't gone through all of them, but this seems really hard. I mean, how do you recognize that whatever you're in is not manageable? How do you recognize that you're powerless? I mean,
if you're trying to control it and can't control it.
Okay. That seems like it takes somebody else to be like, bro.
Well, they've probably told you long before you've come to the realization. But if you're sitting there in front of, on Sunday afternoon with a handle of vodka on the coffee table with the stopper pulled out, and because it makes it go down a whole lot quicker.
Right. And
you're sitting there going, I'm not going to drink today. And you still drink.
And you still do it.
You got,
yeah.
Because that was me. I was like, but it's got to be something wrong. I don't have enough willpower, which has nothing to do with it. My brain chemistry has been changed by now, or it's genetics. I mean, we all know alcoholism, drug addiction run in families.
Yes, absolutely.
You become predisposed to it. Now, I've got a grandmother on the side of the family where we've got alcoholism, but she never took a drink. She was a teetotaler all her life, so who knows? You know, and I think if it skips generation, hell, it's probably kind of like male type baldness. I don't know. You know, it's just all genetic. But if you're predisposed to it and you go and prime the pump, so to speak. Some people's brains change a lot quicker than others.
Right. Yeah. Genetically speaking.
And then the second half of the first step is that your life has become unmanageable. And that's another one that you kind of got to be the judge of it yourself. I mean, if you're calling in work on every Monday because you're hungover from the weekend, or if you're getting trouble in work, or it's like one guy said, you know, every time I drank, I didn't get in trouble, but every time I got in trouble, I was drinking. And, you know, and I've got this awful allergy to where every time I drink too much, I break out in handcuffs. I mean, there's all these folks around that have got, you know, which
it's going pretty far.
And it makes total sense when you hear it. It's like, you know, especially the thing with trouble.
Right.
I mean, I'll never forget, I was coming out of Rockefeller's one night and I had this great, just wonderful car. It was a 1985 Pontiac Parisian, one of those big long jobs with the trunk that would hold about 4 sets of golf clubs and 3 bodies.
I was going to say 4 or 5 people. Yeah.
Yep. Chrome all up and down the side. And so I would park that thing every night in one specific spot, and I parked it and came out one night just lit, still had my suit on from work. I get into the car, stick the key in, turn the key, it won't turn. And then I look in the mirror and 2 sets of eyes pop up in the back. And I'm sitting in front of the mini mart in 5 Points. And a woman comes screaming out of the mini mart. And the kids start screaming, "Mama, mama, this man's trying to steal us." I'd gotten in the wrong damn car.
Shit.
And she had the guy in the 7-Eleven call the police. And so here I am. I'm fixing to get arrested for attempted kidnapping.
Right.
Oh, when all I am is overserved.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
One of those situations that
was not my first intent.
No, I didn't come out to steal them.
I don't want you.
No. But after you get a lot of those start piling up, you think, well, you know, maybe my life is unmanageable.
Right.
And so, and of course, you don't realize any of that that's got anything to do with your drinking. You're just going to rationalize all that away.
Right. It's because of these other things. Why I was even in that position.
Exactly. And what's her problem?
Yeah. Just calm down. I'm a nice guy.
Wrong car.
Right. All right. Number 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity.
That's the one people get hooked on because they think that P's got a capital P to it. And it's not God as I understand. It's not God as anybody understands him. It's a higher power as you understand it. It has nothing. It has nothing to do with religion.
Right.
I mean, I'm from a place.
It doesn't have to be Jesus.
No,
it could be whatever.
It doesn't have to be Big G God. I mean, I'm from a little town in Western North Carolina where you grew up scared to death of God.
Right.
Because he was the one that could send you to hell.
Yeah.
And so after a while, you start figuring out, well, if I'm sinning and he's going to send me to hell for sinning, but nobody's free of sin except Jesus, I'm screwed. So I might as well just go on and Right. And so that has nothing to do with being a power greater than ourselves. This one, you know, is the one that people get hung up on because they just want to get hung up on the God thing. And it's not the God thing at all.
Right.
I can't tell you how many people I know that the higher power is their home group, their meeting, because when I came into whatever Anonymous, I couldn't quit drinking. And now that I'm in here and I'm coming to the easy meetings and I'm doing the things y'all suggest me to do, I stopped drinking and I stayed to stop drinking.
Yeah.
And so you can have any higher power you want. You just got to come up with one because you can't quit drinking.
Right.
Or you can't quit using, or you can't quit pulling up porn on your computer. It's just, I'm powerless over this and I can't stop it with willpower. It's like I told you once before. It's like if I've got explosive diarrhea, try using willpower to stop that. That's basically
it's not going to work out too well.
No, it's like, everybody thought willpower conquers all. No, it doesn't.
No.
And so it's the same with trying to stop this crap on your own. By now you haven't been able to stop on your own.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to tell you that.
Right. You're at number 2.
You got to figure it out for yourself. So yeah.
So that's more about just help.
Yep.
It's, you're
you're
help.
turning it over to something.
Yeah.
And you may not even know what at the time.
Right.
It's just, it's what I tell people is the only thing I've got figured out is if there is God, I know I'm not him.
Yeah.
And that was a big revelation to me.
Well, number 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him.
Right. It's over to the care of God. It's over to the care of being a good person, doing the next right thing. I think, and people get hung up on this. I mean, look at it.
Well, it's got capital G in there.
Yeah. And it was written in 1938.
Right. Yeah. Let's
context.
Set that up. Yes. Just a little context. The 12 steps were created a very long time ago.
And
but we use them all, it's still in practice.
Right.
They haven't changed them.
And if you start trying to work the things, if you try to start putting them in place in your life, then you understand that you're turning your life over to the care of whatever. It's your God. It's your higher power.
Yeah.
Nobody's telling you. The only reason we meet in churches is because it's the only place that'll have us for free.
Right.
Right. I know the preachers at the Methodist churches, they get like extra points for having AA in their church.
They get extra wings.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. That's kind of why they're there.
Yeah.
Or theoretically.
To do good. And it's, and if I had my way, I'd probably change the things around, but you got an organization that's run by a bunch of people on a volunteer basis who don't know each other's last names.
Right.
Try and run a worldwide organization like that.
Yeah.
And before I forget, the anonymity part, people think it's out of shame. The anonymity part that I found out early on is because we're all equal when we walk through that door.
Right.
And that's the reason we're anonymous. It's not because, some people want to be anonymous because they don't want people to find out. I used to get so screwed up at St. Patrick's Day in 5 Points and get on a microphone down there. People already knew how screwed up I was, so I didn't care.
Yeah.
And the anonymity piece of it is just, it's a humility thing. It's like you've got a thoracic surgeon in there sitting next to a landscaper.
Right.
And so that's the only reason from a spiritual level that.
Yeah. It's not about your profession or how much money you have in the bank. It's about the problem we're dealing with. We're all on the same level. And
I've known people for years and years that I still don't know their last name.
Yeah.
Have to give me a last initial or said, oh, that the guy that because the last name throws you off.
That's cool. You ever run into anybody like at the grocery store?
Oh yeah.
You're like, hey.
Yeah, all the time. And then the funny thing is when I went to my first AA meeting, the guy that ran the door at Rockefeller's was sitting in there. And I walked down and sat down and I was like, what are you doing here? And he said, saving a seat for you.
Yeah. Saving a seat for you.
That's exactly what he said. He's still with us today.
Okay. So yeah, something greater than you.
Yep. It's of your making.
Yeah.
Because my will is what got me in here in the first place.
Right.
And so
clearly it ain't strong enough.
No, somebody needs to take care of that.
Right.
And that's whoever, it can be another drug addict or alcoholic.
Sure. If it's bad enough.
Yeah. That's why the whole thing about sponsors is because I was so sick, I needed somebody to tell me what was right from wrong and doing it this way or that way. Because I was full of such shame that I'd put an ad in the state paper saying, I'm sorry, y'all.
Right.
And you just need somebody with a little bit of.
Let's not do that.
Yeah.
Too far.
It's like I tell people the difference between alcoholics and drug addict is an alcoholic will steal your wallet and feel really bad about it. And a drug addict will steal your wallet and help you look for it.
Help you look for it. That's, yeah. We weren't supposed to rank the problems in here, man. All right, number 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves.
That's the
searching and fearless.
Searching and fearless. And that's where the rubber starts meeting the road.
Yeah, it looks like it.
It's
how does one make a moral inventory of themselves?
Sit down and start writing down everything you think is a character defect of yours, like pride, ego, vanity, patience. I mean, you can get as minuscule as you want to with the stuff, and then give examples of it, and how that's played a bad part in your life. And then later on, you're going to put in there who that's affected.
Okay.
And how it affected them. So it's a the fearless part's the part that'll catch you, because everybody thinks, oh, I can do a moral inventory of myself. And,
sure. If I'm not serious about it, though.
Yeah, I took my neighbor's paper out of his driveway or something like that. But it's all about character defects.
Yeah.
That we love to hold on to, because, there's nothing like that self-righteous indignation. That's my favorite one, is that, God, Trump has pissed me off so bad today.
Right.
And then can you believe these people keep acting like this, or these people, or can you believe this guy did that? And it's just me trying to make myself seem smarter to myself, or raise myself above somebody else.
Right.
And then, just having to admit that kind of stuff. And, but it still feels good.
Well, yeah. Well, we've talked about, not you and I, but on another episode, and we talked about now I can't remember what the hell we called it. There was a name for it. It's this moral
indignation.
Moral indignation, but it's more like when you're actually right. Like, so, like, somebody sideswipes you in traffic.
Right.
Like, if you're gonna road rage, somebody sideswipes you in traffic, you're kind of validated.
Yeah.
Right. You can do that.
Right.
You can get mad as fuck and like smash their car and all kinds of stuff. But should you? You know what I mean? Like, you're right. Like, if somebody breaks into your house, you can shoot them.
Yep.
But should you?
And
like, that's the thing. That's the thing.
And it's the question of life. It's existential, because if you can remove the rage from it, I mean, there's assholes in the world.
Absolutely.
They're
real.
They're real, and they're out there, and there's evil in the world. And it's my reaction to it. And the piece of it for people who have a problem with drugs and alcohol is the way we handle it.
Right.
That moral outrage and that indignation. Because if I know how I used to handle it, I just get so morally indignant over the way I thought I was being treated, because the world wouldn't behave the way it wanted to. So I'd just crawl inside of a bag or crawl inside of a bottle.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that people that work in the steps are trying to avoid, is going back to that, what they call stinking thinking, and going back to that old way of thinking, and going back to the way we used to medicate it.
Yeah.
Now the only thing we've got left, because I'm 100% sure I have used up all my chemical answers to worldly problems. I mean, I'm going to have to deal with it just as a person. And so the only way to do that is to recognize it, and then have some kind of tool to if not get rid of it, at least to make it smaller.
Right.
It's like when I first came in, they talk about all these tools that people have. This program will give you tools to help with life. I didn't know you were going to tell me to build a log cabin, and you were just going to give me a rubber hammer.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. Searching and fearless. I like that. Searching and fearless.
Yep.
Number 5, admitted to God, another capital G, to ourselves and to another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. Right. So that seems like the hard part.
A lot of people do that if they're in long-term treatment, like 90 days or more. They'll end up doing that with somebody in treatment, where you have done number 4, you've recognized all your character defects and written them down and how they've affected other people. And then you basically go through your life and all the shitty things that you've done.
Yeah.
And you take it number 4 and building upon that, and you confess it. The
Yeah.
Catholic Church is right about one thing.
Yes, I would have to give them that.
Confession is good for the soul.
Yeah, it really is.
It gets it off your chest, and also it just gets it out there, and there's somebody else that you're telling, if it's a sponsor. And the whole thing with sponsors, I mean, my sponsors, you know, like I said, he's a medical guy. He's got 5 more years of sobriety than I do, but he's somebody who's got a perspective on my crap.
Right. Yeah, he's not just going to pass judgment.
No, he's just going to sit there and he sit there and going, you know, my wife has done this, and this today. My ex-wife has done this, and this today. And he'll sit like, this wasn't that long ago. And he says, man, ex-wives are hell, aren't they? And I'm like, oh, God darn. You're supposed to buy into my indignation here.
Right. He's not having it.
Tell me how she's really screwed me again.
He's not having it.
No.
He knows where you're going with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
yeah, you're not going to get that from somebody that hasn't had the same experiences. They're just going to do their own thing.
Yep.
Now that one, I firmly believe that what you put out into the universe becomes reality. We teach on this show, we teach the other side of that's sort of like looking back, right? That's like understanding what it is, putting it out in the universe that I've done these things. And that helps you sort of accept it, right? We teach using it in the future tense. Like if there's something I want to achieve, it works the same way. Like putting it out in the universe, telling other people, simple shit. Like I want to run a 5K. Well, if no one knows, like I probably will never actually do it. It's like, I'll just whatever. And I imagine it's the same way with this. Like if nobody knows, then you're just going to keep doing it.
Yep. It's going to stay it's also just going to stay bottled up in there. Yeah. And it's not, and it's like rocks in your backpack.
Right.
It just weighs you down because like I said,
I love it.
One of those old character defects I had as a child was I don't measure up.
Yeah.
And as long as I keep doing those, I've got this awful baggage that I keep carrying around. I'm going to keep thinking that I'm just a bad person.
Yeah.
And I'm not a bad person. I'm just a sick person trying to get well.
I'm working on the steps.
Yeah.
Damn it. Shit, I'm only on 5, but come on.
Yeah, but the 1 through 8 or 1 through 9 are the hard ones.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to tell another human being. And then when you get to telling the other human being, it usually, if it's somebody else that's in a program, they've usually done stuff that's just as crazy as what you think is what you've done. And so you actually come out of there feeling a whole lot better.
Wasn't that the case?
Yeah.
Isn't that the case with most things?
Yep.
I mean, that's basically therapy.
Yeah.
When you go, oh, I'm so fucked up. And then you talk to the therapist and they're like, look, bro, you should see some of the people I talk to. And you're like, well, I'm not so bad.
Exactly. But and that's what you just said about putting it out in the universe. That's my present wife. I love dearly. That's her whole philosophy is that, there's a force out there and you just keep on putting it out there. And, there's it all turns to good eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if it's meant to be, the first step is to just talk about the damn thing. All right. So number 6, we are entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character.
Yep. That's
that one. I was reading to these, like, I'm having a hard time with that one outside of the context of, God with the capital G.
That's kind of like a drop the rock. It's kind of like being entirely ready to be free of these character defects that have gotten me through the first 47 years. I mean, all of my impatience, all of my just down anger, resentment, all the victim. I'm such a victim, my self-victimization, all those character defects. I'm
ready to move on,
ready to turn them over. And am I really entirely ready to turn them over?
Yeah, because 6 and 7 kind of go together.
Yeah.
And the 7 of humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings.
Right.
They kind of go together, but I can see them, how they separated the steps.
Right. And so that's what you're basically doing is like take the take the God out of it. You're
Right.
just entirely ready to be free of these character defects that have really held you back and made you not as good a person as you could be. And then you just, once you're entirely ready, just okay, now that you're ready, let's get rid of them. And that's where the work comes in, and that's where another human being guiding you through.
So are these steps, so they go along with you working with people,
right? You've got,
do you kind of, let's say you have 20 people in a room, I don't know how big a meeting, 10 people, whatever. Are there people that are just like, they're literally saying, well, I'm holding at step 7?
Oh yeah,
like I'm at step 7.
It takes years.
And then they might be so they might be at like, I'm step 7 for 5 years.
Yep.
I'm not ready to talk to the people that I fuck with.
Well, and also there's part of that,
or they won't even talk to me. I'm still working on getting in touch with them.
Right. Exactly.
Whatever it might be.
Like we've got a newcomers group that meet, and it's for people with 1 day to 1 year, and they can't do anything but step 1, 2, and 3, because those are so key to getting past that first year. Is that we're just going to work on steps 1, 2, and 3.
Because if you jump right into that searching and fearless moral inventory, you might not be sincere about it.
And you don't have a clue. Yeah, you don't have a clue how to do this thing. You barely know how. You've obviously lost the ability to live your life the way you're living it.
Right.
And so you spend, at least in that meeting, it's the first 3 steps, and then you're all. I still remember Ozzy Osbourne talking about he never could get sober because he couldn't get past step 4, and so it's just. You hear in meetings all the time that I'm on step 7, or
right.
You'll hear people all the time that say I'm going through the steps again because shit's come up.
Sure. I've changed.
Yeah.
All right. So 8 and 9 are related, but we'll take them one at a time. Made a list of all persons we have harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Whereas 9 is made direct amends.
Right.
With such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. That's an important.
And I physically made a list of all the big ones, all the major ones.
Yeah.
And tried to become willing to make amends to them all. To this day, there's still a few that I haven't. I still remember the Seinfeld episode where George thinks that a guy owes him an amend. And he owes him an apology, and he found out he gotten into AA, and he knew he had to go around and make amends. and the guy had stolen his sweater, and that was what George wanted his apology for. So the whole episode is about George following this guy around. And when he confronts him and the guy won't do it, George is just appalled. And the guy said, I don't know your apology. That was my sweater in the first place.
Right. I remember that one. I also remember the soup is not a meal. Like the guy gave him a suit and he kept offering to take him to lunch, and then he would only get like soup, and he's like, "It's not a meal, Jerry. It's just soup." He's like, "This is it. This is it."
And I've found lately, since HBO Max has come into my life, that you can watch all 25 years of South Park. There's probably more. There's more knowledge inside of Eric Cartman. If you just sit there and watch it, if you just binge on it a couple of nights a week when nothing.
Well, there you go. If you're looking for, this has got God capital G. If you need a replacement,
exactly,
Eric Cartman can be your
Eric Cartman.
He can be your,
and then
your God metaphor.
And made direct amends to all people we had harmed, and then you made wherever possible, and that's where you're just owning up to your part of it. That was the part that I really needed somebody to help me with, because there were certain situations that I didn't know, that I thought I was entirely the cause of, and when I presented it to another person, saying,
"Oh wow,
that no man, you're not at fault here. That's because I'm me. My perception is reality to me. But once you bring in a third party, they're like, no, that wasn't your fault.
You're like, shit, I've been carrying that for 30 years.
I know. And then when you go out and do it,
let the healing begin.
80% of the time you go out and make an amend to somebody, like
right.
The ones I can think of, the people are just so, well, I'm glad you got sober.
Yeah.
Because they knew at the time.
Right.
And then 20% of the people are going to say, go screw yourself. And you've done your part.
Right.
Because you can't apologize for their part in it. you can only go up and make an amend for your part in it.
Right. At least you shut that loop off in your
Yep.
brain. Because I don't know about you, but I have that problem where it's like I just spin on, like over the years, I have a hard time. I have a hard time giving up on things. Like I'll just do the same dumb shit over and over. And it helps. It helps to go and talk to that. Even if that person is like, they're rude to you, or they're like, yeah, you were a dick, you know, whatever. You're like, well, at least I know.
Yeah.
At least I know it was a dick.
And that's all.
Like,
that's all Nine's talking about, is that making an amend is when you're facing up to your part in it. You can't do anything about the way they accept it or not, or what their part in it was.
Because they're people. They have their own.
Yep.
But then
all you're trying to do is start over. You're trying to start anew. You're trying to get the rocks out of the backpack.
Yeah.
Because the only way you're going to be able to move forward is not have to live in the past.
Right.
Wow. That's heavy, man.
Tell me more, Cartman. And then except when to do so would injure them or others.
Yeah.
That's like it's like a movie plot. Like every single movie plot is based on that right there, where like, they won't talk to me, or I can't find my son, or whatever. I imagine it took them a while they're like, ooh, we should put that little clause in there.
I've got an old copy of the manuscript these guys worked on. It's only basically 2 guys.
Oh, wow.
It's really amazing. And then they had a group of guys around them, and Bill Wilson and Bob Smith, and how one's a stockbroker and one was a doctor, and they couldn't stay sober. And so they tried anyway.
It's like what we did.
They were the guys that put this whole thing together with these steps, and they got this from what the Oxford group was, another pre-12-step group. I think they had the 12 steps. They were up in New England, but it wasn't a suggestion. It was like it was almost, you had to be a Christian. You had to do it this way.
Yeah.
Same old thing that we've already rebelled against.
Right.
And so it worked in some cases, didn't work in a lot. And so these guys had read a whole lot of Henry James and his religious experiences. And somehow Bill Wilson was on a letter writing basis with Carl Jung. And so,
oh, wow,
all these guys kind of put it all together and came up with, and synthesized it down to these things. And it seems like every recovery program since then has been one iteration of this or another.
Yeah, I'm sure people I can fix this and make it better.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially a bunch of drunks. It's like, if there's anything I know, is I know how to do it better.
Yeah. Right. Oh my goodness. All right. Number 10, continued to take personal inventory, and we were wrong, promptly admitted it.
Right. And that's one of the first ones you get to that's pretty self-evident. It's like on a daily basis, you're laying in bed at night, you think about the situations you went through during the day and how you could have done better and where you might have been wrong. Yeah. And if you really got whacked off about something, you might have somebody that you need to go tell them, hey, I shouldn't have overreacted like that. I'm sorry. And you're done with it. It's like you said, it's out into the universe now. Yeah. And I'm done with that part today. We can go on to tomorrow.
This is like the practicing part, where you're practicing being this new
by the
person.
time you've gotten to 10,
you've done a lot of work.
Done a lot of heavy lifting.
That's a lot of work. Yeah. I mean, or, depends on how fucked up you were, I guess. So how do you do that? How do you practice number 10?
Just like that. I'm not a guy that still wakes up every morning and reads a daily reflection like a lot of people do, or read a daily meditation or something. I do like to meditate, but that's something I picked up from my Eastern mysticism from my wife. But that's the way I do it, is at night, just kind of review the day,
just kind of chilling.
And then also during the day,
right,
if you really screwed up. And it's so much easier to take care of that right now. And
it really is. I think,
instead of ruminating and dreading it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Or just letting it go. You're like me. Like they're not that upset with me now.
And
you need to address it.
The whole basis is I want to do the next right thing.
Yeah.
Be a good person. and do the next right thing, unless you don't want to be a good person. And, there's folks out there.
Sure.
I was one of those. Or doing the next right thing just felt like somehow I wasn't going to get what I thought I deserved or wanted or was entitled to.
Somebody might be asking, you keep saying that being a better person, and how do you know what is a better person? Like how do you know what's good?
I think we've got an internal compass. I think I know.
I do too.
I think I know if something's right or wrong, good or bad. And if I've got a question about it, it usually means it's wrong.
Right.
Because
right. If you're trying to,
that's the way I'm wired, is that I'm going to try to rationalize my self-will in any kind of form it comes in.
Yeah.
And if I'm rationalizing, it's probably wrong, because, you see some people and you just wonder, God, that's a good guy. How, people have just got that compass a little bit stronger in them.
Right.
But, every emotion and everything we think is just a chemical reaction inside our brain.
I like that. Yeah, there's a guy we follow. I follow Jocko. I don't know if you've picked up on that or anything, but he has that. He's like, hey Jocko, how do I know what's the right thing to do? He's like, do that.
Yeah.
It's like we know we're doing shit wrong. We know when we're sneaking. We know when we're not.
Mm-hmm.
And stop doing it. That's the hard part.
And like Jocko, or like my sponsor, it's like there are occasions when, just because of the society we live in, to where the good or bad thing doesn't really fit. Yeah. It's like,
right.
Because there's just no way that our present form of capitalism is a right or wrong situation.
Right. There's clearly.
So when you enter into those realms, we're all feeling our way through until we actually can distill it down to, why do I feel this way?
Yeah.
And am I doing it for all the old bad reasons I used to do everything else?
Mm.
And then talking to somebody else about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Man.
Like, that was the whole thing about COVID. I was talking about this to a group the other night. I'm still astounded at people that I know are good people and their reaction to masking and COVID.
It really was a conundrum,
and it was in AA and NA and all the other A's too. And it was a surprise to me, because since it's me, I kind of put us up on a pedestal where I belong. I'm
top of the totem pole.
There you go.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be a damn alcoholic, I'm going to be the best recovering alcoholic in the world. And so, it was like, where did this come from?
I didn't get it.
And you can distill it back to all that self-centered fear stuff about, I'm not going to get this, that, or the other. And man, it was. I'm just glad we're, quote, out of it.
Kind of, yeah.
I don't think monkeypox is coming to.
We were talking about that before we started.
Coming for all of us.
I don't know. They're shutting down New York and Chicago and LA or whatever. They've got monkeypox centers and shit going on. I don't know, man. It was really funny to watch that. Like, so the selfish, like the mass selfish approach that people still, and you see it like literally playing out in politics too, like literally selfish pissing contests over turf.
Yep.
It's like, what the fuck?
I know.
They need a 12-step program in politics. Everyone should have to go through this, like, for real.
Well,
like, legitimately.
There's a lot of people that, say, gosh, I wish, and that's part of this thing about the anonymity of the thing, that we can't go out and publicize it. They call it principles over personalities.
Mm.
And so that's why you don't see any, I don't think you do. That's why you don't see any ads for 12-step programs per se. You'll see ads for recovery centers.
Yeah, you need help.
If you need help, give me $30,000 and I'll read you the 12 steps.
Right. They kind of open source the steps.
Yeah. They're free.
Yeah. Well,
it's like
good,
we were talking about.
It's a good approach.
Like GPS.
Yeah. Yeah. Like cure for polio. It's kind of nice that was out there for everybody.
Hey, did you see we had our first case of polio in the United States in 10 years the other day?
Doesn't surprise me.
Not a bit.
We're definitely getting dumber as we get more into the future. All right, number 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out.
Right. That's basically just building.
It's the longest sentence yet.
It is. And you notice we haven't talked about drugs or alcohol since number 1.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, the sought through prayer and meditation is just a continuation of number 10.
Yeah.
To stay in touch with the good side, whatever you want to call that higher power, and to do that self-inventory every day.
That's like the act of doing number 10.
Right. Just please.
It's like number 10 and then go do it.
Somebody give me the will to do it.
Yeah. Oh man. So meditation, you said you do that every once in a while. What do you do?
Do it, I guess the old-fashioned way. I say, like back in the 70s, there was that book about transcendental meditation, and I just kind of sit there and quiet and concentrate on one sound,
really,
or on one thought, and it kind of just clears out.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of believers say that prayer is me talking to God and meditation is God talking to me.
Right.
Because you just open up your mind to be able to rid it of all that crap that goes on in there when you're not trying to relieve yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't even know how to. There's something about that moment where, like, I don't even know where I'm going with this, other than like, I was talking to my oldest son. This was a couple of years ago. They were in a car accident or whatever. And we were talking about this, and he was just talking about that moment where they could see the car and it was like about to hit them. And he was talking about that moment in between when he recognized the car was going to hit them and then it hit them.
Mm-hmm.
And like, he was actually saying like, it was kind of a neat moment, like, cause nothing mattered.
Right.
Like, he's like, things were so clear.
I was going to say, it's that moment of clarity.
Nothing mattered. He knew certain things. Like, he knew that he loved his mom and his brother. Like, he just knew these things in his soul that were like, this is how the universe is. That, like, you don't want to like not almost be in an accident every day, but like getting to that point where
conjure up that point.
Yeah.
On a regular basis, or had the tools to be able to do it.
Right.
Why wouldn't you?
And that's an extreme, moment of clarity,
Right.
I know a lot of people, I don't know a lot of people, but some people like to, jump off of high objects or, drive really fast. I mean, there's also a problem.
Yeah.
You could die.
Especially if I'm on the road.
I mean, that's the other side of addiction, I guess. I mean, do something else.
But it's if no thought's going to be able to get in if you don't clear your mind first.
Right.
And so, because I know the chatter that's going on between my ears, and I'm glad nobody else can hear it. And until I can actually, at least decrease the chatter, or get down to, there's nothing else is going to be getting in the first place. It's like I said, you have all these these duh moments in your life that are just simple things that, why didn't I realize that before?
Right. Yeah, you have to kind of realize that all those thoughts, right? Those thoughts aren't who you are.
Right.
They're just thoughts. It's just passing by. Like, all that chatter is just random shit, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like I used to try to tell my kids, like, you can't be happy unless you know what sad is, Bo.
I like it.
And it's that way for any other kind of a positive emotion.
Right.
It's, you don't know you got plenty unless you never had anything.
Yeah, that's right.
If you're born on third base, you're born on third base.
That's right. Yeah. You don't. Yeah. Number 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. This was obviously written in the 30s, 20s, because it's like alcohol is the only problem that they're dealing with. But.
And they actually, even it's like there's the big book, Alcoholics Anonymous, and then there's like the stuff that came later.
Right.
And, it's kind of like the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
Right. Yeah.
And they address it later on. Is like one of the founders had a real problem with depression. He didn't get it addressed until the 50s. And so, but he recognized the fact that he had it and there were ways to medicate it. And then not soon after this, because all it took was World War II to get people totally screwed up.
Yeah.
The whole male population of the United States.
Yeah.
And so, they addressed the whole thing with addiction and goofballs is what they call one of the things. People are stuck on goofballs.
Goofballs.
It just shows you when it was written. But step 12 is the guarantee. And this is what people like to point to about AA being some kind of brainwashing thing. It's because if you work the first 11 steps, they guarantee you that you'll have a spiritual awakening as a result. And the spiritual awakening isn't like a burning bush type of thing. Which is what people like to think
well,
of.
That'd be nice and easy.
Yeah, no kidding.
That'd be great.
Like, you'd have burning bush stores.
Dude, yeah.
But no, the spiritual awakening is just the fact that, I've realized what it takes to be a good person. And I've realized what it takes not to drink or use or all the other things that help to make me a bad person.
Right.
And that I can live my life on from there.
Clearly you want to tell other people about that.
Yeah.
I can help you.
I know. And like I said, it's for the people that want it, not the people who need it.
Right. Obviously. You have to be sincere and 100% honest with yourself to go through these steps.
Yeah.
You're not going to, I can see why, the first 3 or for the first year, I guess is what you're saying. Because you can bullshit your way through this. Be like, give me the ticket so I can not go to jail or whatever.
Let me get my sheet signed.
Yeah, and then I'm good. I'm gonna go right back to what I was doing before.
Because I still remember I was doing step 4 for a year, and I used to just send lyrics to Pink Floyd songs to my sponsor. I just email those to him when he said, "How's it going?" And I'd send him 3 pages of Dark Side of the Moon lyrics.
He's like, "What the?"
They just get back to work on your 4th step, you idiot.
What are you doing? Oh, goodness. So why are all these in the past tense?
Because it's us telling you what will happen if you do these steps. We admitted, this is what we did. This is what we did in order.
You can't claim it until you've done the work.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. This is what we did, and this is what we still do in order to stay sober or straight or not gamble, not be a degenerate gambler.
Yeah, whatever. Degenerate gambler. And there's some professional gamblers out there, man.
Yeah. Well,
it's all good as long as you claim it on your taxes. That's what I've heard.
They sure make it easy now.
Wow. So where did you go? Like, where was it that you went to get these things?
To Charter Rivers. Across the river over there. Yeah. That's why. And then I escaped on Thanksgiving. And then went into an intensive outpatient program, and then they got these things presented to me, and literally I knew it was the last. This was the last hope.
Yeah.
I did not want to go to prison.
Right.
And so, and that's how it kept getting presented to me. And so, you fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Bumper sticker.
Just keep working.
Just keep on going because I've got to go.
Yeah.
And if I've got to go and I run into some people that seem like me and it seems to be working for them, I'll give it a shot because nothing else has worked so far. Yes. I can't quit.
Yeah. I feel you. Well, what words would you have for somebody who might have listened to this, watched this, or whatever? Various points in this. What words would you give them?
Try if you think you got a problem, go to a meeting. All you got to do is go to Google on Columbia, South Carolina. Like I said, there's 400 meetings around the Midlands. There's something there. Now, there's good meetings and there's bad meetings.
Sure.
But I don't get to be the judge of that, because what I think is a good meeting might not be what you like.
Right.
But like I said, our home group at Shandon Methodist has a newcomers meeting. Like, only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking.
Mm.
And I'm sure NA is the same way, for the desire to stop using.
Right.
And you can go to the websites and they will steer you to all those different meetings and give you phone numbers and everything else. I've got an email at scriptrx@gmail, SCRIPTRX, which is South Carolina Recovery and Intervention Physicians Treatment. I think's the
wow.
how I know. ScriptRx. And ScriptRx at Gmail. And I'll be glad to steer you in some direction.
But it's not hard. You just
no,
Google it.
You know, it's not hard, because if you think you got a problem, you've probably already done it anyway and just didn't follow through on it. But like I keep saying, I am much too cool to think that a bunch of old white men in 1938 wrote a book that pertains to me in any way. I mean, anything that came before Jack Kerouac cannot be cool.
Right.
And so, I wasn't going to give it a chance. And then the court made me give it a chance.
Then it worked.
And that's something.
Lo and behold.
You don't have to get, you might get sober, but you can stay crazy if you want to.
Yeah. Well, you're living proof of that.
I'm not saying all the filters that you need stay in place.
Well, who needs that stuff?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your story. I have to admit, I always wanted to hear it. I wanted to talk to you about it. You always drop little nuggets of wisdom and things. And it's, you're not going to like it, but I think it's impressive. I think it's impressive too. I mean, you'll probably say like, well, they made me do it, but like, it's impressive to fight out of that corner.
Thanks.
It takes a lot of work, man. I mean, I see people do stuff all the time, just, becoming fit or like losing weight or whatever. And that's so hard to do, I can imagine this one's even harder.
It gives you a new perspective on when you hear somebody say, well, people can't change.
Yeah.
Well, they really can.
Yeah.
You just got to be in enough pain.
Yeah. And you have to accept them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dr. P.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And I'll put some links up for people to find this stuff. Like the man said, it's not hard. Just Google it.
Yeah.
Probably already have. It's his words, not mine. And like Jocko says, you know what to do.
Yeah.
Do it.
Good one. Just tattoo that on my back.
All right.